Do child predators use the same techniques as magicians? Well, according to this article that I found, the answer is yes, a strong yes. Now, from time to time, I do tend to make fun of magicians on this particular channel, and also I do sometimes make allusions that certain magicians may like children more than others. Now, of course, I find this article trying to look for certain things about magicians that I could make fun of, and this article comes up where it talks about techniques used by magicians that are also used by child predators. Now, this one is not going to be a fun video. Yes, we're going to go over some fun byplay here and there, but other than that, it's still a relatively serious type of discussion here. So really, I don't want any references to and boys in fireman outfits in the comments section. I don't want any of that. The article goes in length to talk about a common magician technique of misdirection, or otherwise known as direction of attention, where you're placing your attention on something so that the spectator or participant doesn't see what's taking place. And they link that to abuse that takes place directly in front of the family. They say that the majority of abuse happens in front of a parental figure or somewhat of a family member without the knowledge of any abuse taking place. This is why in these documentaries you have a lot of people talking, usually as to never suspecting anything because they were always in front of them. Nothing could have happened because you were always in front of both parties. And it goes to show you that perception does go a long way, and that is one of the many techniques that magicians use. But at the same time, I do feel like the article kind of went into a little bit of a stretch here when it came to that comparison, and they did reference a book that I actually perused called Sleights of Mind. Sleights of Mind, and I did give the book a little bit of a perusal, and it's an interesting one. Don't get me wrong; it's a good book to read. It talks about how magicians take advantage of these techniques that have been flawed historically in the human nature, and we take advantage of these flaws in order to present magic tricks to you. And the book does have a little bit of an annoying disclaimer every time that a magician goes to show you how the trick is done. They have this disgusting disclaimer that says, "Hey, a magic secret is about to be mentioned." But we'll get back to the book later. The article goes to mention these techniques that, pedophiles use to take advantage that magicians have used historically in their tricks. It goes on to mention a common psychological fact, which is that the brain does not deal in the absolute. It's always making comparisons. And because because we're always looking for patterns, somebody could deviate from that pattern and use that to take advantage of whether that's you or a vulnerable kid. Another technique that is taken from the magic world and used by these disgusting people is the idea of rewriting history. How many times in a trick do you mention to a spectator that you didn't touch the cards, they had the cards in their hand the entire time, they mixed the deck, when in reality nothing of that took place. As a matter of fact, you touched the deck, you put the card where you needed it to be, you handed them the deck, and then afterwards you said, "I didn't touch the cards." But this same rewriting of history is used by these predators to rewrite history. They'll say, "Hey, I never touched it. I wasn't there. I was somewhere else." And these sickos do that often when it comes to this sort of behavior, especially when it comes to the idea of telling somebody that, no, you didn't see what you thought you saw. What you saw was this. And unfortunately, what tends to happen is that because we're humans and because we're very fallible, we believe them. Now, I will leave the article in question in the description section so you guys could read it. It isn't a great read for the actual topic in question, but I do feel like it's a necessary one, and one that does kind of put a little bit more light as to that certain uncle that you might find acts a little bit odd around the kids when they're around. Now, the book that I mentioned earlier is an interesting read. I've gone through a good portion of the book, and it does get a little bit annoying because it does feel like sometimes the magicians they used for the book are retroactively putting their techniques in question, or putting their techniques based on whatever concept the individuals and authors are trying to come across. You see this happen a lot with pickpocketing, for example. I believe one of the people they got in the book is Apollo Robbins, and he's the king of tying in magic tricks and pickpocketing to other neuro sort of ideas when it comes to the brain and distracting them. And really, these are things that you can't do outside of a magic performance. I don't care how good you are at stealing somebody's watch. You try that in New York in a subway and you're going to get stabbed in the face. Or if you do that in South Florida, you're going to get a cigar in your eyeball. But the book does go over many different ways that magic techniques could be applied to the real world, could be applied to increase your sales, could be applied to increase your social life with the ladies or the men, if that's what you're into. So I'm going to be leaving the information for the book as well in the description section. And while this is a very morbid topic, it does prove that nobody's a better diddler than a magician. So that's the video. I hope you guys got something from it. And please don't stop talking about these morbid topics. I know they're hard to hear. And I know sometimes you might think, oh, in jest, look at Piggy being funny again. But seriously, these are issues that you really don't see until it's too late. And frankly, nothing makes me angrier than a disgusting, deviant individual taking advantage of a smaller youth just because the youth doesn't have the experience. They don't know any better. And sometimes they come in with what otherwise looks like to be good intentions, but obviously have an ulterior motive. But that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something from it. And please remember to clean your armpits.